Everybody needs to go on silent right.
I am still I'm still a panelist. Looks like
Irfan, I hope you're doing stuff.
we have 3 people already there.
Well, hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. So, welcome to this webinar on harnessing AI for digital transformation, enhancing customer experience and revenue growth, strategies for CXOs. So, my name is Ranjit Shankar, and I'm going to be your host and moderator for today's webinar. Our speaker for today's webinar is Mr. Bala Gopalakrishnan, who is the president and head of digital technologies and AI at Datamatics. Bala has over 25 years of experience in the IT industry, and he has led several digital transformation programs using cutting edge technologies with a keen passion for customer excellence. Before we get started, I want to just set a few ground rules for today's webinar. If you have any questions you'd like to ask, please type them in the Q&A window that you have, and we'll try our best to answer them at the end of the webinar. Also, be sure to participate in our audience polls. They're coming your way, and we would like to know what you are thinking about some of these things related to AI. So please watch out for that. So without further ado, I would now like to hand this over to Bala for the rest of the session. Over to you, Bala.
Thanks, Ranjit. Again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm very happy for you all to join me. So the topic I've taken is harnessing AI for digital transformation. As Ranjit was saying, I'm kind of been doing digital transformation for almost 15 years now. Been doing a lot of large-scale digital transformation, and we started with doing with social, mobile, cloud, analytics, and then along the way, a lot of other new technologies came. But I would say that AI is changing the game. The force behind AI, the transformation that is bringing, I'm not seeing that what the other technology stack brought for digital transformation. This is what, like, you will see in the subsequent slides what you're talking about. So the reason I picked this topic is, like, in the last year and a half, when I've been talking to CIOs of the various enterprises, the key question always has been, hey, where do I start? I always feel that, like, we need to start this, but I don't know which are the use cases that I do, what roadblocks do I have, how do I, enterprise should be ready, right? Should I do it now? Should I do it later? Which model should I look at it? Which platform should we look at it? What is the strategy at an organization level versus at a specific use case level? So that's where, based on the various engagement that we have done, the solutions we provided, kind of based on that, I said, let's share this as a webinar. And the key sections, if I just go into my content, I have kind of broadly put it into three key sections. First, I will just do a setting the context, breeze you through some of the key concepts on AI, Gen AI. Then let's look at the building blocks of Gen AI, right? So it's not just the your foundation models. It's just not just the Gen AI piece. There are so many other things that has to come together if you're talking about doing it at an enterprise level. There we'll talk about what are the complexities, what are the patterns, what are the solutions, and how you should go about making it happen, and how do you let it scale. And once we are clear about that, how do I take that and bring it into your enterprise? Right now, as a CIO or a US C-suite person, you have a business objective. You need to look at your top line, bottom line. How am I aligning to that? How does the AI going to help me? So that's our broadly three topics. Now let me start with setting the context. So what's digital transformation? Let's start with the basics. I've kept it very simple definition. And I'll just read it here as is. It involves using technology not just to replicate an existing service in a digital form, but to use technology to transform that service into something significantly better, right? That's how it differed from digitization and digitalization to digital transformation. And there are some key aspects of this, right? When I say I'm doing a digital transformation, my number one is, how am I improving the customer experience? How am I giving more innovative solutions, new offerings to the customer base, right? How am I getting better insight about my current customer base? How am I getting insights about my competition? How do I get into the new geography? How do I get into new segments? That insight you need to provide as part of your transformation. You need to provide a platform that enables time to market. You need to provide an infrastructure platform that gives elasticity like cloud. That's your digital transformation. And along the way, now you'll see how AI is going to play part in all these areas, right? So with that digital transformation, let's quickly look into some of the key things. I'm pretty sure we all know what it is, but just to make sure we are all on the same page, let's start with AI. What's all about AI is how are we going to make machine mimic human beings, right? Our cognitive functions, our human intelligence, that's artificial intelligence. Within that comes machine learning, which is more to do with how am I training machine to look at certain patterns. We give you data, you look at the data, understand certain patterns, recognize that patterns, and then do predictions on that. Then came your neural networks with deep learning. Then it started recognizing kind of complicated patterns, and then look at how we can give like, inference from that. And then finally with generative AI, which is the core of this piece, now we are talking about using neural network to generate, right? It's a generation. So even if you look at from an analytics perspective, we started with just using rules coding, which was more deterministic. Then we brought in artificial intelligence and made it more probabilistic. And with machine learning, it was predictive. And with generative AI, now we are moving into generative, right? Now, the core of generative AI, as you would know, is a foundation model. And what foundation models gives us is it's pre-trained with a large data set, right? So if I have to do it the traditional way, I need to build my algorithm, I need to build the model, I need to train the data set. It's going to take me years of time and money to do that. But what now it's making us do is enterprises, now you have libraries of foundation models that is pre-trained. And it comes like, the ability, not only it's trained, the transfer learning ability of the models, it's easy for me to kind of then fine tune it, pre-tune it, and then take it from one context to the another context. I can downstream use it for a different use cases, right? So that's the beauty of using your foundation models. Somebody has done it for you. Your OpenAI has done it. Your Microsoft has done it. Google has done it. They are giving you models which is already pre-trained. Now, how do I kind of like, with a minimal, effort, start applying for my use cases? The second aspect of that is the self-supervised nature. So as you put it into production, these models, and you continually start feeding the data, you are the, the models are inferring from it. You're also doing continual training. The models are learning and they're becoming more intuitive. And the last one, which is making it like now every first grader to start using it, is prompt engineering, right? These models now you can just give English prompts and then you can get that output. But then there is a lot of science behind that. How do we make it better and all? So that's where your foundation models, being the core of that, is making it a lot more better for us. One other aspect to look at, why should I use foundation model for an enterprise? Why should I look at a Gen AI? It is important because it's going to save time, it's going to save cost. One of the statistics that says is 70% of normally what would you take to build in terms of time and value and cost. Now with Gen AI, you don't need that. You just take the model, you tune it, and then use it for the use case. So that's a great advantage for us to start using it. Another thing, if you look at from a tech stack perspective, when you look at your AI applications, typically I will put it in terms of like 3 to 4 layers, right? Your first layer is platform layer. There you can split it into your hardware layer, like NVIDIA's of the world who are doing so well now. Then you have the cloud platform, the 3 key players with your Azure, AWS, and GCP. And top of that is where you have the models, right? So you have the open source model, cloud source, the the closed source models. So you can, consider whichever models that you want to take, then you build your apps. Or you can even take ready-made apps and then deploy it on your cloud and use it. So just keep this layer in mind. I'll be using this context in the subsequent slides. Typically, you can look at it as if I have to do an Gen AI, I'm going to do a 3-layer, a platform layer, a model layer, and an app layer. One other key aspect you need to think when we talk with the CIOs at an enterprise level, where do you want the model to be? Where is the tuning has to happen? So there's a cost balance and also the nature of the business. Are you in banking? You are in a BFSI? Are you in a retail customer? Or you're manufacturing? Where the data should be? Because look at on the leftmost is fully public option. Then I have the rightmost is the fully private option. There's a cost and balance that you need to do. But if you want to look at like least secured is, I take the model from a model provider. I keep everything on in the public cloud. The model is already trained with the public data. Then I fine tune with my data set for the enterprise. Everything I'm doing it in the public cloud on the leftmost side. So it's in the public realm. So you're exposing the data, but it's the cheapest option for you. If you're the next option that you want to look at is, I'm still taking a let's say an OpenAI model. I'm taking it, right? But then I'm putting it in my private cloud. So where I do the fine tuning, that data is not exposed to the outside world. That model is kept for yourself. It's going to cost you a little bit more. Finally, so again, you see the 2 icons. There's a human icon on the top that is about tuning, and there are the 3 dashes that's about fine tuning. The third option, we are moving the model on-prem. We are making it more secure. But in this case, I'm taking a model which is already trained with public data, and then I'm bringing into the enterprise and fine-tuning it, which gives you a lot more security. And the last one is, I take the shell of a model, but then I then bring it here inside on-prem. There I do the actual training of the model. Then I look at the different use cases, business objectives, I'll start fine training on that. That is just fully secured. But then you can look at the cost with $5 signs there versus the $1 sign on the left side. So this is another aspect that you need to look at. My application I need to build on layers, but I need to where I'm deploying it. It depends what your cost and what your security requirements. So at this point, I'm just going to take a quick pause here. I will ask Ranjit to pop up the survey poll. Let's take that quick one, then we can go to the next piece.
Okay, so if we can bring up the first of the audience polls in 3, 2, 1. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have your first audience poll here. You have roughly about 50 seconds to answer this. So please go ahead and start participating in this poll. The question is very simple. How do you describe your proficiency in Gen AI? You're just getting started, you're somewhat experienced, or you're highly skilled. So it'll be really interesting to know what you guys have to say. These results definitely look interesting, and I am sure we're going to publish this in the next few seconds for you so that you know what the audience is generally saying. So just hold on. Okay, so I think we are ready to share the results right now. So here we go. The results are overwhelmingly in favor of a whole bunch of enterprises and decision makers who are just getting started with AI. And the further 23% say they're somewhat experienced. So, Bala, that really gives you the lay of the land in terms of what is really happening.
Sure.
So, go ahead.
Thanks, Ranjit. That's good to know. And I'm not surprised. And this is kind of pretty prevalent when we talk to our customers. They just want to get started. So you are not away, you're not missing the bus, but there's always that FOMO factor of a fearing like, you're going to miss out if somebody else is doing it. So let's talk. So before I go into the next section that I'm primarily want to talk about the building blocks of GenAI application, I just wanted to give you some CXO outlook, what is the market, what are we hearing from the different CIOs, right, and the CEOs. So let me go there. A quick ones. This was a source from the CIO dimension. The first point that it says is 75% of the CEO believe that adoption of generative AI would give them a competitive edge. But the second one you see, it says while 75% believe in that, there's only 30% of the employees think that they are ready. That means that one key pillar, which is your talent pillar, is not ready yet. And without that, you will not be able to go forward. So that's something you need to look at it. The third point is nearly 2 in 3 say they feel pressure from investors to accelerate their adoption of generative AI. So the C-suite always feel there's a pressure. Your customers are going to ask, hey, whatever you're offering, where is AI and Gen AI in it, right? You are also going to feel pressure from your peers. They are doing it. The FOMO factor that I was saying, am I doing it or not, right? There will always be those external pressure that how are you going to handle that? Then the next one is about ethical AI ethics. So there's a lot of expectation that, hey, if I'm going to put it, let's put it the right way so that tomorrow I don't get sued or I'm going to have issues. Now that multiple countries are coming out with regulatory stuff, how am I ensuring that it's compliant with that? And the last one is about executives are interested but don't know where to start, right? Now, the next slide where I'm just kind of collated some of the key questions based on my discussions, the various things that comes up. I'm not going to read all 10, some of the key points. How do I align to the business strategy? What is my ROI for that? What are the risks associated with that, right? What infrastructure do I need? How do I get the data quality and governance? How do I improve my customer experience? How do I build my AI talent, right? What are the ethical implications? How do I do like the AI advancement? Every second there's a new model coming. Should I wait? Should I do that? Like, when the next best model comes, where do I when do I start? And how do I scale with all these things, right? So with that, I'll try to answer some of these things as I go into the next sections. So this is where I will talk about what actually constitute a Gen AI application, and using that reference of the layers that I talked about, right? I will show you progressively how other pieces are getting added up and then adds to the complexity. So normally, I showed you the 4 layers, right? Your compute layer, then your cloud layer, and then your model layer, then your apps layer. There comes the new one, which is your model monitoring. So this is where it's going to be different than when you do your IT projects. Your regular IT projects are very deterministic. You write your test cases, you test everything, everything works fine. You deploy it in production. It's not going to give change. The same output is going to come for that scenario because you already tested it. But in the model, in your Gen AI model, right? Even though maybe when you developed it, when you tested it, you reached an accuracy of 95%, 97%, whatever is that number, be rest assured that number is not going to stay there. You need to come out with an AI ops and ML ops strategy to constantly monitor it in production because you're feeding data. It's inferring the data, you are doing continual pre-training. How are you ensuring that the accuracy is staying there? There is no bias to that. How are you giving explainability and all that? So model training, model monitoring is very important aspect. Now, if I move to the one more view of this, now I kind of combine the two cloud layer and compute layer into one. There's a new layer, which is the orchestration layer, right? So when you start doing Gen AI solutions, a lot of time we look at as a point solution. I can take an, LLM, I can just write a API, given a simple interface and put a database. Let's say I want to do a intelligent document processing of some like thousands of documents and ask questions. It can work as a standalone solution. But as you start looking at an enterprise level, you are going to look at multiple use cases, multiple solutions. You may look at even multiple models. You need to can't have multiple solutions talking to each other point to point and create a spaghetti. You need to think of an orchestration layer that then orchestrates all interfaces between apps to the models, to the data layer, to the security layer. That's how it's going to make it scalable. The analogy could be back when you used to, or even now we have the enterprise service bus that you use to interface with your enterprise applications. Similarly, you need to have an AI orchestration layer to make it scalable. And we'll talk more about that. Then I take one more view, right? So again, adding to the 4 layers, we looked at the model monitoring component. We looked at the previous slide in terms of orchestration layer. The key one is now data, right? Data is the most important aspect. You would have heard about AI. If you do not have a data strategy, then you have a problem. If garbage in, garbage out. So, and again, data is vast. How do I build the data pipeline? What is my structured data strategy? What is unstructured data strategy? Is it data lake? Is it data mart? Is it data warehouse? What is my data orchestration? What is my data pipeline? And should I boil the ocean and create an enterprise strategy? Or should I start with a one business objective? Maybe I just want to look at which business unit of mine is doing well. I just want to create a AI model to look at all the data related to leads, related to opportunities, related to delivery, and then which business units are not doing well. Maybe I'll create a data view of that. So you can there could be a step by step while you are doing a data strategy at an enterprise level. You also need to align to your use case strategy and then do your data strategy along with that. Then comes your, as I talked about, the integrations, right? You need to have your API integrations, you need to have monitoring tools, you need to have your co-pilots and developer tools, we need to have our policy management. So all these things you are going to start putting at an enterprise level. It's going to add further complications to that. And that's where we need to make sure we have a reference architecture. So before I go talk about the reference architecture, another view that I want to give you is how does it look like when I start putting it in production? And what does the lifestyle look like, right? When you start, obviously you need to start with some data preparation. The green boxes are looking at the data preparation, your data pipeline. You start with some of that piece in place, then you start experimenting. This is another place where it's going to be different from your traditional IT, where you do your requirement analysis, development, and start testing. But in this case, you have multiple models. You need to evaluate the models first to figure out which is that model that's going to give me the most accuracy that I want, which is going to meet my expectations, right? And it's different. Is it NLP model, computer vision models? Everyone has so many options. Your open source, open source, right? All those options are there, closed source models and all that. Then you need to train it, make sure it is ready. Then you adapt it to the use case. You may adapt it to one use case, multiple use cases. Again, there are certain pattern solutions for that. Once it's ready for that, then you deploy it and then put it, as I said, your AI ops, ML ops strategy, put a feedback loop so that the data goes back and trains the model. And then obviously the last one is on the prompt engineering below, where the users are entering and asking the questions. Then you have to make sure that accuracy of the data that is coming out. Now, if I want to take this as a cycle, then okay, before I go to my reference architecture, I want to talk about another piece that is also adding to the complexity is AI agents, right? When we started, it was a simple LLM. I just asked a prompt, right? I say, how are you? It's going to figure out the next word has to be doing. So it will tell you, how are you doing? Then we brought in RAG. RAG helped you add context to it. So I can add a vector database, I can chunk it, create a context through semantic search, I can add to the query, I give you a better answers, right? Then now the next stage, again, there are more complications there, RAG, fine tuning, pre-training, all that stuff. But the bigger complexity which is coming in is in terms of AI agents, right? So this is something is forming up AI agents and agentic workflows with your prompts and all that stuff. Human in the loop is a lot more involved. You need to constantly give your prompts, keep looking at your output, keep fine-tuning it. Agents are going to basically work on your goal. You set the goal, agents will then work, multiple agents will work together as a workflow, keep fine-tuning themselves with a minimal human in the loop, and give you the output till it reaches the goal, right? In fact, they're talking about next stage of that is agents are going to spawn more agents on themselves when they know that they need to do something. They are going to then generate the code. They are going to then write it, execute it, keep fine tuning it till the goal is reached. And then finally, you're going to reach the AGI stage, right? So the complication, evolution, the advancement is happening. So you need to also factor that as you start building your solutions. So when you look at your reference architecture, again, it looks cluttered, and that's one of the point I wanted to bring in is when you want to have a reference architecture, you need to take care of multiple things because it has to scale, right? If I have to look at, you need to have a UX, UI, UX in an AI world, it should be more personalizable, right? You need to be able to handle NLPs, personalize it. Prompt engineering has come, there's a prompt has become prompt engineering. There are a lot of patterns that is available now, whether it's a chain of thought, tree of thought, your React, DSPOI. There's so many strategies to make the prompt better. Then we talked about RAG. Then there is now within multi-agent or a single agent, you need to interface that. You need to create a workflow. You need to have an API to integrate with your backend systems. Then you need to make sure that you have an MLOps strategy. On your left hand side, sorry, on the right hand side, you have a constant fine tuning and evaluation of the model and make sure that whatever the output is that's coming based on your security requirements, how are you looking at in terms of the secured, verified, validated before it given to the customer. So you need to put all these building blocks as a reference architecture as you start scaling up and looking at multiple use cases, multiple solutions at an enterprise level. So having spoken about all these components, right, based on our past experience and continue to, as we are also evolving, we are also building more complex solutions now. What we see is like, some of the best practices to adopt is, there are now proven patterns emerging, right? Like even pattern at a pre-processing and post-processing level, because you don't want to overload the LLMs. Anything that you're going to give LLM, it's going to go to the GPU, it's going to cost. Every word is going to become a token. It's going to cost you. So you need to identify how do you optimize with your pre-processing, how do you add more intelligence with your post-processing, and that's where you can look at your data science, your classic AI, and then combine that with Gen AI, and then give a better solution, and also with your traditional programming as well. Prompt engineering, I talked about some of the prompts, some of the patterns that's emerging right now. SAA versus MA, which is your single agent architecture versus multiple agent architecture. I can't say enough about data strategies. One of the most important thing I keep emphasizing, you need to have your AI in play, make sure your data strategy is in play, your integration strategy is in play, because if you are like, you have so many applications, legacy applications, your, next gen applications, all of them are going to talk to your AI. How are you going to integrate your UX strategy? Some of the emerging frameworks that we see, which is very prevalent now, is use case validation framework. Before we identify a use case, we need to look at in terms of like, is this use case good? Is it for my short term, long term? What is the ROI for that? What is the impact for that? What is my AI implementation framework, my security framework? There are model testing framework. How do I test my models? How do I look at my AI ops framework? How do I look at my cost optimization framework? How do I look at my AI ethics framework, my maturity assessment framework, right? There are all this framework that is available now for us to assess all these areas. Then there are productivity tools like IT folks. You have tools, Copilot that's available for code generation, but we have tools now for the entire SDLC. You can do requirements generation, design generation, code generation, test case generation, deployment, all that stuff, right? And we are trying to achieve between 30 to 60% productivity using that. And you have co-pilots available now for different functions. You have sales co-pilot, HR co-pilot, management co-pilot, finance co-pilot that helps you improve the productivity for each one of those functions. So it's good to look at all these things and adopt them. So now we looked at the components of AI, how it is evolving, how it is adding complication, what you need to do, make it scalable. Then now let's look at how do I bring it to the enterprise, right? And before I go there, I would ask Ranjit to do one more quick poll. I'll just pause here.
Thanks a lot, Bala. So if we are ready to bring up the next poll, Datamatics team. Okay, here it is. So you got 55 seconds to answer this question. So please start making your selection right away because there isn't much time left. The question is very simple. What is the primary obstacle preventing you from adopting Gen AI? So yeah, the responses are coming in thick and fast. Yeah, and I would encourage everyone who is present on this webinar to really answer this question. And we'll be sharing the results in a couple of minutes once we close this poll. So I think the poll has almost closed. We're still getting a few more responses. And you will know what your peers are also saying. Okay, so the poll has ended, ladies and gentlemen. So whenever the team is ready, we'll be able to share the results in the next few seconds. Yeah. So it's clear now. So I think 42% of the people are really saying that use case identification is a major obstacle, preventing them from adopting Gen AI. A further 39% say talent availability is an issue, while the others say model selection. So that really shows the mind share of the audience right here in this webinar. Bala, over to you.
Good. Thanks. I think it kind of aligns with some of the slides that I'm going to show on the use case identification is one of the key challenge. So let's now deep dive in how am I going to bring it at an enterprise level. If you are the C-suite person, if you're a CXO, you need to look at what is my strategy, right? Now, every business is going to have a business model and operational model, right? Now, I look at three key points that you are going to define for your business: your value creation, your value delivery, your value capture, right? Now, if I take these three and then kind of map it on a triangle, the vertices, three vertices, the AI piece, there are two places AI is going to play a part. One, I'm going to use that for my internal operations. What that gives is I can then use that for value delivery with my internals, and then I can also use that for capturing it. On the other hand, I'm doing it on the right hand side. What you see is my AI application, which is more focused on giving offerings, products, and solutions, which going to kind of capture my customer, kind of capture a market segment, right? And I'm going to use that as a feedback in terms of like doing a value capture. So in the triangle, the one in the middle of the triangle is what your ecosystem, your enterprise organization, your overall AI strategy is there. Now, if I have these two angles taken care in terms of improving my overall internal operations and rolling out the offers, the one at the bottom you see is then I can do better in terms of customer engagements. That's where the link between your value delivery versus value creation. So that's where for us we should look at it. One way of looking at how do I take and look at my AI and make an impact to these three areas. We will further talk on business models. So if I look at, I'm going to split this into business model and my operating model. If I look at my business, I'm running a business that's primarily if I'm interested in growing my top line, there are about 4 or 5 key drivers I want to look at. One, can I use AI to kind of roll out new product and service innovation? Can I use AI to look at data-driven decision making It could be for looking at my customer intelligence to grow the market segment, personalization, customer experience to improve your top line. Look at what my competition is doing, how it is positioned in the market, how can I do business process automation. I have listed down few key use cases, right? Like maybe healthcare can do a AI-driven health diagnostic tool. Bank can provide you a personalized financial advice bots, which are based on AI, which was not there previously, right? And data-driven decision making. A logistic company can use it for inventory management, right? A retail can use that for consumer behavior, right? I can use it as a personalized shopping for e-commerce, right? A personalized user interface, like Netflix is now doing something based on your viewing experience. They want to personalize for you using AI. How do I look at my competition, looking data analytics and this. So, and process automation, you can do complex process and, use it, expose that to your bots, and you can use it in assembly lines, right? So there are various use cases using different models that's available. We need to, like, for each one of your business, you need to for take these 5 or 6 key drivers for business model, then map it to the use cases that you would like to look at it, and then start building it, right? And that's where you need to also look at which use case is going to give me immediate ROI versus a long-term ROI. So that's an exercise in terms of your use case validation. Now, if I look at my operational model, drivers, the key ones are obviously I want to run my operations as efficiently as possible with as minimum cost as possible. My key drivers here are my enhanced operational efficiency, my workforce transformation, my quality control and compliance, real-time monitoring, right? Automation of complex process. Over here, some of the use cases that I've listed are like, let's say take a manufacturing company, they can put an AI solution for predictive maintenance. So they can figure out when the machines can go down. By doing a predictive ones, you can actually avoid the shutdowns and increase the longevity. Again, optimize routes for like logistics companies to make sure that you deliver cheaper, faster. Workforce transformation, you can bring in robots, virtual assistants. You can look at productivity tools for like, IT people in terms of code generations, even in terms of digital transformation. When you're looking at legacy code modernization, how are you doing that? You can even bring in AI to extract business rules from your legacy code, which normally like in your COBOL code or AS400 codes are sitting there. It's very hard for somebody to go through that. Now we have tools that will extract the business rules, improve your productivity, and there are tools that can even convert your legacy code to your latest codes and all that stuff, which can help you. The workforce is getting more transformed to become more productive. You can put fraud detection in your banking, in your insurance companies. Regulatory compliance is becoming a major part. Like, we can use AI to do that rather than having a manual audits and all that stuff. Energy and utilities companies can look at, monitor grid performance real time and do that. So even your production system, how do you monitor that? So these are some of the loan underwriting and content creation and personalization are some of the things that we can use your Gen AI. Again, these are use cases for your specific business. We have to do so, like, look at what use cases make most sense from an operational efficiency perspective and then make that happen, right? So when I'm talking about use cases, I would kind of broadly put it under 3 key categories at an enterprise level. It is either at an NLP level, natural language processing. The second category is your computer vision, image processing, and third is your predictive analytics. So I can do text classification through NLP or image classification through computer vision, right? You've seen bots. You can use NLP. You can do document summarization. With computer vision, you can do object detection. Your OCRs are done much better now. Your predictive analytics, like you can do your revenue forecasting, demand forecasting, recommendations, and we have been doing a lot of our custom applications for our customers or even our own solutions which is aligned to some of these use cases, and I'm pretty sure most of you it will fall somewhere here. So as you start identifying the use cases to go ahead, one of the things that you also need to look at is how are you going to get ready for like the AI readiness, right? The key pillars, I list them as the 4 key pillars. One is organizational readiness, right? So is your organization ready? Like we looked at the survey which said the CEOs are ready, but the team is not ready, right? The only 30% is ready. That's not going to help you. How do you come out with a strategy to increase the talent across the organization? How are you going to build, let's say, an AI COE? And you need to be also like, and it's my advice is at a CEO and CXO level, we need to look at how you cannot be an inch deep. You have to be mile deep. For you to be involved in your strategy discussions, you need to evaluate the strategy, be part of the governance. You need to be a lot more deeper. And while the Gen AI is doing a lot of good things in terms of adoption for business, but it's also creating a lot of wannabes who think that now they are, AI expert, because all they do is they can just do a prompt engineering and they think that they know AI, but AI is a lot more deeper, right? We have seen the complications just Gen AI. But my recommendation, if as an organization, if you want to build, you need to have your AI that should have your Gen AI, you need to have your classic AI, traditional AI, your data science. They should all come together, and that's how you can provide a more formidable AI solutions than just pure play Gen AI solutions. And that's where you need to have your talent also built across that. We talked about business use cases, very important one. I know how it needs to be aligned with your business roadmap. You need to have a clear-cut business roadmap aligned to that, your business use cases, which is aligned to your AI roadmap. I can't keep saying enough for data readiness. AI is not going to work if you don't have a data strategy for the organization. Absolutely make sure that you have a data strategy in place, complete end to end, and your infrastructure readiness, right? You need to look at in terms of, are you, most of us, we are going to go with one of the cloud service provider. They will provide you the, the GPUs, but there are also cases where we need to build your own server farm. But then good luck with that. With so much backlog with NVIDIA, it's not that easy. So you need to look at a CSP who can give you that infrastructure readiness. So again, there is an AI readiness framework that can tell you where you are, where are the gaps, and how it needs to be done. So you are getting ready with your use cases. You are getting ready to understand readiness part of it. There comes the next part. You need to be clearly aware based on the survey that O'Reilly did. I did that. I want to share. If you look at this pie, almost 50+%, the three key factors that's kind of a hindrance for an enterprise to adopt AI. Like for number one is lack of skilled people or even hiring people. We always find there's so many resumes comes in and there's all the keywords, but then you start peeling the onion, the depth is not there. As I said, everybody think they are an AI expert. All they are doing is writing some prompt and using a model that's made it so easy to do, but you don't know how to put a right strategy to utilize your AI. Lack of data or data quality. Another, again, if you don't have data strategy, it's going to bring you down. The third one is in terms of, like some of you guys also said, identifying which use cases should I look at to adopt. If you take care of these three parts of it, you can take care of the other side, which is in terms of change management, organization culture, infrastructure change, tuning your models, legal compliance frameworks like bias and explainability, managing expectations. Those are manageable, but these three P's on this side has to be taken care of. Right? So some of the recommendations that I have in terms of looking at how do we make this happen, right? One, start with the use case identification, right? You start with something simple. You don't have to boil the ocean, look at the business strategy and then do it. Start something internal. It could be related to your bots that you want to put it on top of your HR system for your internal employees to look at what are the HR policies, how many leaves do I have, right? These are some of the things which is risk averse, right? So you can start with that and move to the next level of business case and move up the maturity curve. Your readiness, I've already mentioned about, you need to put a plan in terms of readiness, in terms of talent, in terms of infra, in terms of data. If you are not already there, you need to look at how are you looking at your platform selection versus model selection, right? If you're already in Azure shop, maybe your Microsoft shop, you can look at Azure. Azure gives you so many things, including the Copilot. AWS gives you so many things they have, right? They have the code whisper and all that stuff. They give you that. So you can align with the platform. They give you tools and models that you can use, or you can look at using something custom for yourself. And again, I want to emphasize is make sure that you have an enterprise blueprint. Understand how everything is going to come together, how they're going to integrate together. have an ops strategy, have a governance strategy. One approach is to conduct a workshop, and I found this thing is most useful for CIOs and CEOs. Is you conduct a workshop, bring all your stakeholders, bring SMEs. It could be a day workshop, a 2 days workshop. Much like that time that you're investing is going to give you clarity for next year or two in terms of how you are going to go forward with that. So if I look at maturity model, right, an organization we can broadly define you could be a level 1 to level 5, right? At a level 1, you are just starting. You are more at an awareness level. A level 2, you are just dabbling with some of these things. You are building some point solutions. You are doing some internal on your HR systems, as I said. Level 3 is when I say you are ready, right? You are started implementing something. You are now putting into production. You see the customers have started using it. So you are at level 3. That's where a certain level of maturity you have achieved. Level 4 is when you now started using that across different business functions. Right now you have certain framework at an organization level. It is start disrupting for you. That's your level 4. You are scaling up now, right? You are now starting it. Level 5 is what I call it, like you are reaching that nirvana level of AI. Is AI is part of your business DNA. It's not only part of your business DNA, it's actually part of your organization overall. Every function in the organization, not only from business function, your internal functions, your HR, your sales, your recruitment, your IT, whatever is that, every aspect of them, they all are involved in AI. So it's become an AI first company. There's an AI fabric that is connecting every part of it. So there's again an AI maturity framework that is available in terms of assessing and telling you where you are, where are the gaps, and how do you address the gap. So I will just pause here. There are some key things that I want to discuss in terms of key takeaways based on what we saw as part of the models. Then how do we apply as part of your business drivers to grow the business and to also bring operational efficiency. Maybe at this point I will ask Ranjit to do our last poll.
Yeah.
And move forward.
Thanks, Bala. So I think we've so far had a riveting session on AI thanks to Bala's expertise. And now we can quickly move on to the third audience poll, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, here it is. So you got 50 seconds to kind of start answering this. What is your key driver for AI, Gen AI adoption? Is it staying ahead of the competition? Is it business value generation? Or is it operational efficiency? So keep getting those responses coming in thick and fast. Yeah. We want to see what you really think at this point. The more responses we get, the better it is for us at this point. Few more seconds to go before the poll closes. So, yeah, I think we are almost there, and then we'll be sharing the results as usual in no time as well. So, okay. So looks like we are getting to the poll has ended officially right now. And I can see right now is 56% are saying business value generation is the key driver for AI Gen AI adoption. So that is overwhelming there. And then operational efficiency is a close second there. So I think between those two, much of the audience is really going in that direction, Bala.
Great. I think it's in the right direction. So let me move to my last section, the key takeaways. In terms of, if I look at AI is a transformational force, right? It's not just a technological upgrade, but a transformation force that redefines business process, enhances customer experience, and drives innovation, right? Gen AI drives major gains. So it's very important that you adopt AI, right? Because it has adaptability for various use cases. We can certainly use downstream by training the model, various enterprise data set model that you have, and make the outcome much better for you, and achieve that which normally you will take so much time to build with your traditional AI. You need to think about how am I doing a strategic AI integration, what patterns I'm applying, how am I integrating with all my existing systems, which is very critical if you need to scale it up. AI readiness is absolutely crucial. So make sure that you are paying attention to your infra, your data, your people, your in terms of identifying the business cases. And the last one is in terms of ethical AI use, like look at in terms of what kind of framework you're putting in place, what is the AI governance framework. It is very important as you start scaling up and adding more and more solutions, you have an AI governance framework that looks at defines guidelines for the organizations for various functions that started implementing AI in terms of model selection guidelines, right? Even cost guidelines in terms of accuracy, in terms of regulatory compliance. So you need to define that as a governance framework for the organization. That's very important. And there is also explainability and transparency and observability, or an aspect of you need to have that. There are now regulatory audits that's going to happen and say that why did this particular decision was taken by your board. You need to have an explainability for that. So it's important that your governance model takes care of that. So actionable insights for CXOs. These are some of the key things based on our interactions and how we have seen they have moved forward and made progress. Is do assess your AI maturity, evaluate your current positions and look at where the gaps are. Because then it's going to help you. How do we address that? Right? Identify the pilot project, start with the AI project, and look at what's the clear ROI. What are the quick wins that you want to look at? Invest in skills, develop an ongoing education program for employees, right? That's very important. Plan for scalability, right? Point solutions will work fine. Always think about how it's going to work out. How do you align to your business roadmap? And make sure that you're looking at your ethical considerations. I talked about the ethical framework and governance. Make sure that is in place. And then everything that you're doing when you're putting in system in production, which takes care of that. So I think I've covered in 45 minutes. I will keep some time for Q&A. At this point, I will pause here, Ranjit. You can open it up for Q&A.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks a lot, Bala, for that really insightful and informative session from your end. I think we have all learned a lot today about the various aspects involved in the AI journey, starting from identifying use cases to selecting the right models to creating those AI solutions. So I think we have about, roughly 13 minutes left on the clock. So we can definitely take some questions. So I request the audience to obviously post their questions on the Q&A window. And we'll try and address as many questions as we can. So Bala, the first question that is coming up for you will be from a gentleman called Mr. Kulbhushan Sharma. In fact, his question basically surrounds on what is the use case in inventory management?
All right. So again, we can do a session and workshop. Typically, what I do is I go into business case. Like every business has its own use cases. There are certain use cases which are technology agnostic. You can always do certain which are independent of industry. Now coming to, I can give some examples, and we can do workshops to identify a lot more. Like inventory management, you also look at in terms of how much stock do I have, like which particular stock is depleting more, which particular stock is sitting there, right? How do I then take care of that? Your AI can give you that, which one is moving faster, which one is sitting there, which one is perishing. You then link it to your logistics and say that where the goods are coming for your inventory, how do you make it optimized so that it is delivered, and the pipeline for customers delivery and what you are doing in inventory management are all optimized well. I'm giving you just few examples, but then it's so vast. With what we typically do is we bring our even your business domain guys for each industry and our AI expert together. We sit and brainstorm and say that these are the use cases, this is how you should do it, these are your quick wins, and these are ones which are more strategic in nature.
Okay, one of the other questions is on how do I choose which model works best for my use case?
Good question. We get confused every next day. There's a new model that's coming out. It's always questionable. What do I do? So, I mean, some answers could be where your organization is. Are you a Microsoft shop? Are you AWS shop? Then, half the answer is given because you need to pick one of them. the best way I look at is there is already a lot of these models. One of the things that we also do is my AI team, we catalog, we keep doing experimentations and catalog, okay, these models make sense for these use cases. Then what you need to do is, if you think 2 or 3 models make sense, that's where you do pilot. You evaluate them, look at them, which one gives you the best result, then go with that model. So already there will be certain data that's already available in the market. Take the model, go with the model that is which is more scalable, which has good data set pre-trained, so that you don't have to do a lot of training, right? It's already trained. And now sudden, if you look at Hugging Face has come out with a lot of models which is already customized for very specific industry use cases. You can take specific to your use case and then tune them, and then see 1 or 2 which one makes more sense, and then use them. Ranjit?
Thanks for that, Bala. Um, I'm also trying to see if there are some more questions here coming up. Okay, Mr. Sandeep wants to know how Datamatics will help their customers select or identify those models.
So what we do is, we normally with our customers, we do AI adoption workshop. So our customers, we know their lay of the land, we know which industry they are, and for most of our industries, we already have our catalog of what the right use cases, what right models. We bring that to the workshop. Then we look at very specifically what is your immediate goal, what are your short-term, long-term goals, what does your business roadmap looks like, what is your technology roadmap looks like. Then we will do a brainstorming with the key stakeholders, it typically a half a day to 1 day session. End of that, we identify these are the use cases that make sense. We put certain timeline, create a roadmap, and say that what, this is how we will do it. We will also suggest these are the models that we should look at it. And we will also bring certain models that we have already built solutions. We will show you the demos, how it works, so you can get a real hands-on feel, and we will work with you. And a lot of customers, we also do co-innovation, that together, like hey, let's experiment this, let's experiment that, and then we help you scale it up.
Okay, thanks for that, Bala. So the next question is, how can AI be effectively integrated into existing customer experience strategies to drive tangible revenue growth? The question is from Mr. Nabil.
Okay, it's a loaded question. So you are talking about customer experience. You are talking about existing, applications, all that stuff, right? So one of the things, as part of digital transformation, you are looking at customer experience. You are looking at contact centers, right? Today in existing world, the traditional way of somebody picks up the phone, calls somebody, gets the resolution done, and we are doing a lot of solutions on contact center as well. And some of the things that we do in terms of integrating the existing systems is, one, provide bots that's like now can support NLPs. So you have customers of various languages, they can interface and then ask question in the native language. It will give you the answer. The bots are there 24/7. So you are happy no matter which time zone you are in, you can ask the question. We can look at in terms of giving personalized way of user interface based upon their way of using it. That's another way of giving the customer experience. So there are multiple facets, like you can look at it, and you can do larger transformation, like you can start with bots, and step by step you can add more and more in terms of giving personalization and NLPs and all that stuff.
Okay, thanks for that, Bala. Next question is on how can we ensure data collection storage is structured to cater to scalable enterprise solutions using Gen AI?
Sorry, can you repeat that, Ranjit, again?
Let me repeat that question for you. How can we ensure data collection / storage is structured to cater to scalable enterprise solution using Gen AI?
So it's not using, see, what you need to do is, for using Gen AI, you need to have a data strategy, right? That's what I've been saying. And you are going to have unstructured data, structured data. One of the things that we see is, how am I going to like create a data lake where I'm going to dump all this unstructured data and structured data. On top of that, how am I going to create a data warehouse strategy, which is more aligned with certain business objectives, or a data mart strategy, right? So and from data lake, you need to look at in terms of how am I doing data cleaning, how am I doing data curation, how am I doing my data annotation, because you need that. You need to make sure you are doing that before you are feeding that to your model for the model to be accurate. Otherwise, it's garbage in, garbage out. So that's where your data pipeline of taking all these various data sources, creating a data lake, looking at data transformation strategy in your data cleaning, data curation, and your data orchestration to feed to the data, feed to the model, and make sure that the model is accurate, and ensuring that once it goes live, how am I continually pre-training the continual training the model in production with whatever the transaction data that is happening in production. Those are the key aspects that you need to look at it from a data point of view.
Great. I think we have time for another maybe one or two questions max, and we will wind up today's session. So, one other
And
question,
just
Bala.
I just thought about on the customer experience. One other key use case that we see,
Yes,
which I've been doing,
yes.
is because that was a question that was asked, a couple of questions back, is about like customer. One of the things that GenAI will also help you is sentimental analysis. Like bots can identify if the person is calling based on the tone and the language that is being used, then it can appropriately kind of like in the tonality how to take care of that, and and make sure that you're specifically addressing it. Sentimental analysis is another key aspect to improve your customer experience. I just wanted to add that. Please go ahead with the next question.
Okay, one last question because I think we're almost out of time, Bala. So, the last question surrounds this topic on organizational structure and culture. So, what modifications in the org structure or culture are required to facilitate a successful transformation driven by AI?
So it's a good question because for you, for an organization to be successful, and this is something we're doing at Datamatics right from my CEO all the way down, is everybody is like thinking AI first, right? That's what I said. You need to have a strategy to ensure all of everyone. It's not just the technical folks, your HR folks, your recruitment folks, your sales folks. Everybody is going to start using AI. So we need to train them. We need to put certain structure to your training methodology. We have come out with a structured way of doing it. In terms of our technical guys, they need to go through multiple levels to achieve a level 5 certification, which is like takes him to the AI architect level. I have a various levels for the sales folks, a various levels for management, because you are going to talk today. Any talk that you are having with your customer, you need to talk about that. So your sales, your enablement, your L&D knowledge enablement should be very structured, and you need to constantly do a refresh as well, because it's constantly changing. As I said, you started with just prompt to RAG, now you're doing agents. You just can't put a strategy and say that, okay, I did refresh in Jan, I'm done for next 3 years. No, we may have to like have a quarterly refresh, and based on your order, like the people that you want to give, you need to look at how you're doing the refresh. That's very important.
So that's it for today. I think we're completely out of time. But Bala, if you were to pan to the next slide, I want to draw the audience attention on a few things that's up. So, first of all, I want to thank all of you for attending this webinar. We will email you the links to the webinar recording, the webinar deck as well, so you can have a look at it in your time. One very critical thing that we are offering at Datamatics is this. The question we are asking you is your organization ready to embrace AI? And what we want you to do is we want you to take this 2-minute AI readiness assessment survey. Now, my team is about to drop the link on chat right now. As we speak, my colleague has just dropped the link on chat. Just spend 2 minutes. It won't take too much of your time. Hardly 10 questions, multiple choice. Think through the responses, answer them. And what you get is you get a 1 hour consultation with our AI expert here, Bala. Right? So I think I would take that effort if I had the chance. But yeah, there it goes. And so our link is available to you. So even beyond the assessment, if you have a business challenge you want to discuss, you have AI initiatives on your mind, you want to just talk to us, irrespective of that, feel free to write to us at business@datamatics.com. Visit our website. You can drop an inquiry there on our get in touch page, and soon enough we'll be in touch with you. So once again, thanks a lot, Bala, for the time that you have taken today to kind of enlighten us on this whole AI saga, as it were. And, I will see all of you on the other side. And, good night, good evening, good afternoon, and we'll be in touch soon. Thank you very much
Again,
and have a good day. Bye-bye.
thank you guys, and enjoy the rest of the day. Have a good day. Bye.
Okay, bye.